fall leaves create some of the most incredible soil in a relatively short amount of time. And since I just built all these garden beds, I'm going to be utilizing some fall leaves over them to help increase my soil fertility. As you can see, I have tons of trees out here on all this land, and with lots of trees you have lots of leaves. So because I have a ton of leaves, I have a big DR leaf and lawn vacuumer, which is super clutch, but it sucks up all the leaves as I drive around and mow, and it mulches them up at the same time. It's really nice. So I used that, collected a bunch of them, and I dumped them into these big piles of leaves. Well, they were big, but they compressed down throughout the course of the past year. They haven't broken down completely yet, but they are partially composted, and that's a great stage to start applying any type of mulch that you're putting down. There's also a variety of leaves because there's a variety of trees out there, and the more variation that you have in whatever your materials are for your mulch, or if you're compost or something, the greater the range of beneficial microbes and nutrients and all that stuff that you're going to get when you apply it. So I have a mixture of oak leaves, I have a mixture of black walnut leaves, I have a mixture of black cherry, beech, bird. It's a whole bunch of stuff. I got grass that I mowed up all over it. Tons of stuff mixed in there. Now, even though my lawnmower and my lawn vacuum mulched up the leaves some, they're still not as small, right? The particles still aren't as fine as I want them to be, right? Again, we're trying to create soil fast. We're trying to create it really fast, right? In nature, it takes about 100 years to build just 1 inch of topsoil in nature. I don't know about you, but I ain't gonna be here in 100 years from now. I just ain't. So we gotta speed that process up exponentially, right? If I have an apple and 5,000 people have to get a bite of this apple, well, if I just hand it from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next until it gets to 5,000, it's gonna take a long time. But if I cut that apple up into 5,000 little pieces and all 5,000 people get a little piece and they all eat it at once, it's gone in an instant. The apple is eaten all at once. So that's essentially what I'm going to be doing with these leaves for the soil microbes. To do this, all I'm going to need is a weed eater. I have this Cobalt electric weed eater. That thing is super clutch. I actually got a combo deal with it, that and a leaf blower for like 140 bucks. It was a steal. I love that little thing. And then you're going to need a circular trash bin. This one here, I just found at Do It Best, right? You can find these pretty much anywhere. This is a 36-gallon trash bin. So those are only 3 things that you're going to need: leaves, a weed eater, and a circular trash bin. And when you start mulching up your leaves, you're going to want to do it in stages, right? You want to add a couple handfuls and then mulch those up until they get really fine. Then add another couple handfuls, mulch those up until they get really fine, so on and so forth until you get to your desired amount. When you're putting your leaves in, keep an eye out for twigs or sticks or anything hard that may be going in there with it, because one, when you're mulching them up, it'll start chewing through your weed eater line, and you don't want to keep losing line, right? You don't want to keep giving away. Taking those things out will drastically minimize your weed eater line loss. I barely lost anything throughout this entire process I was doing this. I made a bunch of trash cans full of this stuff, and I didn't have to tap my line at one time because I was diligent about getting those twigs and stuff out. And 2, that stuff will fly out and hit you straight in the eyes. But please, I do not want y'all losing an eye, especially men, right? And I'm talking to y'all men specifically because we kind of just whatever and do it anyway. How do I know? Because I keep getting hit in the eye and I still ain't putting no glasses on. I still do this with no glasses, and I get hit in the face every single time I do this. So I'm gonna start wearing glasses, but for real, wear some type of eye protection doing this. And you can see how fine the weed eater gets all those leaves. I mean, it basically grounds them into powder, which is excellent. That's exactly what we're looking for. The amount you're going to need or use is obviously going to vary depending on your situation. My situation here, right, I'm doing market garden style beds, right? That's how I'm applying them. So with my 36-gallon trash bin, I'm putting them on my 4-foot by 30-foot beds, right? So each bed is 120 square feet, and it takes roughly 1 full 36-gallon trash bin to cover that entire 120 square feet, about 1 inch deep of this mulched leaf. Most likely I'm going to come back and add about another 2 inches, so let's just say I'll be adding 2 inches total of this fine leaf material. It's going to compress over the fall and winter and early spring until it's time to plant, right? I recommend that you start doing this now. You can do it in the spring to add as a mulch, but it'll take a minute for it to start decomposing. So doing it now, hopefully it'll be decomposed really well by the time spring rolls around. Now, to further encourage the decomposition of these leaves into soil, because again, I don't got 100 years, right? Time is crucial, right? Time is a very limited resource, so we have to do this as fast as we can. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the silage tarp, I'm pulling it back over my beds. So there's this fine leaf material on the beds, and the silage tarp's going back over with the black side up. The black side, I don't know if y'all have ever had any experience with silage tarps, but they get hot. That sun beating down on them, they get really, really hot. And that keeps the environment underneath it warmer for longer. Well, heat plays a major role in the speed of decomposition, right? Heat, moisture, and oxygen, which is also part of why when I put down these leaves, I wet them down as well, right? The heat from the sun collecting on the silage tarp combined with the moisture that I put into the leaves and the tarp keeping that in will really help speed up that process. And also it was kind of windy and I didn't want my leaves blown away. Even if it doesn't decompose completely, I won't be too upset. I'm actually not really anticipating it to decompose completely. I just want it to decompose a good amount. But I only put it in beds where I'm knowing I'm going to be transplanting things. So even if it didn't decompose at all, I'll be cool with that because it still acts as a really good mulch. And since I'll be transplanting stuff in, all you gotta do is move the mulch all the way and I'll just plant it into the soil right underneath it. The other beds that I'm not putting any leaf mulch on, I'll probably add leaf mulch to it next spring, right? These other beds that I didn't add anything to, I'm going to be direct seeding, and I'm going to be using a Jang seeder for that. And a Jang seeder is not good at pushing through mulch to seed stuff. It's just not. So I'll direct seed those beds, and then when they sprout up enough, then I'll probably get some leaf mulch and sprinkle it in between and around all of them once they get popped up next year. Now, even though the leaves that I collected last year still look very leaf-like this year, there are some other leaves that I put down last year and didn't pile that broke down completely. Some of those leaves I spread out into a garden area, covered those leaves with wood chips, then planted some vegetables and herbs and stuff in it, and that leaf is gone. It's completely decomposed, right? It's turned to some beautiful soil. And you can see here how much my plants were loving it, especially this basil. You see this basil here? This basil is going nuts. So that's what I implemented in my gardening this year. That's my thought, my mindset, my attack for all this stuff. I'll be sure to let y'all know how it goes once spring and the rest of the growing season rolls around. If it's something I'll be doing again, it's something I'm not, whatever, but I'll give y'all an update on how it turns out. And if it gave you any ideas or thoughts, or if you want to try to implement it, or you want to put your own little flavor, you think you can improve it, let me know in the comments. Like I'm always looking to upgrade or try something new. So let me know what you think. We'll see what happens in the near future. Until then, I'll catch you in the next video. Thank y'all. Peace.